Could we know the creator of the universe? When you stop and think about it, if this were true, it would be the greatest discovery of all time. In this video, I offer two main thoughts. Assuming God exists, there are two basic criteria that would first need to be met in order for us to know Him, and both require an act of the will. Willingness upon God's part to reveal Himself to us, and our own willingness to accept God for whoever He turned out to be. Here's a thought experiment. Suppose you had to determine what's inside this box, and you were given an infinite amount of guesses. Well, of course, with an infinite amount of guesses, you would eventually get it right. But here's the catch. How would you actually know for certain what's inside that box? In other words, how would you know when you finally answered correctly and could stop guessing? Well, the only way would be if I was willing to confirm your answer by opening the box and showing you. But if I was unwilling to do that, then you would simply never know what was inside. And so it would be with God. We could guess and speculate all we wanted, even use the world's most advanced computers. But if God doesn't want us to know Him, then all our human effort would be wasted. Now, as postmodern people, this is rather problematic because our culture has conditioned us into believing that we have the ability within ourselves to determine what truth is. That we don't need God to tell us who He is because we're quite capable of determining that for ourselves. But it doesn't depend upon us. The decision to open the lid of the transcendent or to leave it shut depends entirely upon God. Now here's my second point. Let's suppose that God did open the lid. What would happen if we didn't like what we saw inside? What if knowing God meant that He wanted us to submit our lives to a certain moral standard? Over the years, I've encountered many people who have claimed that they've wanted to know God. And yet what would often become clear was that all they really wanted to know was whether He existed. To them, God was nothing more than an intellectual curiosity, no different than if they wanted to know whether the story, the lost city of Atlantis, was real or legend. If they had concluded that God was real, it would have made no significant impact upon their lives. Yet coming to the conclusion that there is a God clearly doesn't mean anything, for even Hitler acknowledge God's existence. So obviously a true knowledge of God necessitates a certain higher standard by which we should live. But therein lies a problem. To truly know God would mean the surrender of our own will to His. It would mean living out our lives for Him and not for ourselves. It would mean not living by our own rules, but only by those which He sanctioned. Which would lead me to suspect that the real issue wouldn't be so much that God would be unwilling to reveal Himself to us, but rather we'd be unwilling to accept Him for whoever He really was. Well, those are two of my thoughts anyways. If you've enjoyed this video, please share it with others on Facebook or any other social media. And if you haven't already, why not subscribe to this channel? Currently, I have 24 subscribers, and one of those is myself. I'm hoping to gain at least 10 more because of this video. With a simple click of the button, you could be one of those. I would really, really appreciate it. Thanks for watching, and keep searching.